Hi, Justin Robert Lentz here. I've made some notes because I'm going to go over quite a few things. I'm going to be going over some basic health tips. I'm going to be going over some ideas for genetic engineering. I'm going to be going over a strategy guide for getting through the apocalypse, making some predictions and enlightening you on some of the things that might happen during that and how we can try to help prevent the end of the world. But I'll start with a few health tips. First of all, a good dewormer is pumpkin puree or seeds and crushed red peppers. Um, Toenail fungus. What adds to that is sugar, alcohol, and refined carbs. And a thing to help fight toenail fungus would be things that are fermented, like yogurt, sauerkraut, because that takes the sugars out and it replaces it with something else other than sugar. And coconut oil and flaxseed oil is also very good for helping clear up toenail fungus. 70% of the germs in your mouth are on your tongue, so obviously brushing your teeth and gargling is good, but there are some more things you can do to further eliminate germs in your mouth, like rubbing your toothbrush on antibacterial soap before you put the toothpaste on to brush. I'm going to go right into a genetic engineering idea that I had because enzymes have to cut DNA and then splice it. So I was thinking if there is some type of language that they will understand, or even exposing certain enzymes to videos, showing them what it is they're supposed to be doing, that might help improve with genetic engineering. I'm gonna go right into some fantasy stuff. Um, Vampires, I believe, is if they do exist, I think it would be a, a more of a genetic engineering thing that has to do with certain bacterias that help splice genes. I think if werewolves are real, then it probably has more to do with things like diet and habits and different types of kinesises, which I will go into. But I mean, obviously, instead of clipping your fingernails, if you file them, they get thicker instead of longer, faster, and kind of they develop claws. But I think that there are some types of kinesises that do exist, and I think that if God does have a final plan of destroying the earth or burning the earth, since flooding it didn't quite wipe us out completely, and we are getting more intelligent again. And if that is a problem for him, which I believe it is, I think pushing the Earth into a black hole or into the sun or far enough away from the sun that we freeze to death would be a way for him to try to dilute the population, get it back down to 2 people, and start over again with inbreeding to dumb humanity down again. Some things for getting a higher IQ. These are my tips. Create new art, things you've never seen before, new ideas for inventions. Do a lot of research, studying, self discipline. Remember, when it comes to intellect, relevancy and usefulness is very important. Uh, Ladybugs. I didn't know this. Ladybugs eat mites, so having them in your house is actually very beneficial. And you can feed them little droplets of honey or raisins to help them, be happy in your house and feel more like a guest. Um, if he does try to flood the earth again, I think boats with knives on the bottom, and plenty of fishing gear and a way to purify water on your boat will help. Because remember, I mean, there was a story where a sea monster swallowed a guy who wouldn't do what God told him to, which was go to a specific city and basically tell them, what God expects of them. And so he spent some time, under the sea in this fish's belly, this big sea monster. Um, Bay leaves. Bay leaves remove bacteria, mold, and something else in the blood. What was it? It's bacteria, mold, and viruses in your blood. That's why I didn't need the COVID vaccine right there. Um, Insecticides are going to be important because if locust is going to be a thing and he's going to use plagues, they have a new type of pesticide that isn't harmful to humans or pets because it goes after the nervous system of insects, which is different than ours. So it's harmful to them, but not us. In the same way that things like cyanide are harmful to human, but not buzzards. They can pretty much eat rotten corpses and live. It's just how we, genetically evolved. Sage is something that when you burn it, it has a antibacterial effect. It does cleanse the air. It's almost like showering for the air quality in your home. Um, and then you've got the art of semen retention. Now this is different because this is where you abstain from sex for at least weeks on end so that your testicles basically produce something that's a lot like stem cells, and they, instead of, because it's used to create another being, and if you don't use it to create a baby, then your body recycles it and it rejuvenates your own body. Honey is an astringent that kills germs. There's a lot of benefits in things like eggs and broccoli. They help with collagen. There's this stuff called bone broth. It's different than chicken broth. Bone broth is pure collagen, which is good for your hair, your fingernails, your skin. It helps with your internal organs, keeping them maintained and in a good state. I just recently found out that herring, the fish, you can eat it raw, and it has a high level of creatine in it and something called selenium, which is also very, very good for the human body. Um, Oatmeal. Oatmeal. If you start to get like a saggy neck, or your skin starts to stretch, or you start to get a little droopy, you get it wet and then you rub it all over this area of your body that's getting loose skin, and then you wait until it dries, and then you go shower it off, and it tightens your skin back up. Um, Cocoa and pomegranate. If you're over 40, you're gonna want to know this. Cocoa and pomegranate both are a natural way to replenish your testosterone levels and keep you feeling young and healthy. Um, there's a lot of good things about eating prunes and raisins. Prunes are very high in calcium and vitamin D, and raisins have a high level of zinc, one of the highest of anything you can eat. And your bones actually need zinc just as much as they need calcium. Turmeric, very good for you. Again, that's just extremely healthy. It's good for your overall well-being. And then I want to talk about there's certain sound frequencies that if you listen to them, I think you can up your telepathic powers by hearing the frequencies and meditating, as well as trying to do stuff outside of your body with spiritual control or mental control. One of Thoth's teachings are to spend time in the dark and use what your eyes have decided is irrelevant to see so that you can develop a sixth sense. So you sit in the dark, and instead of trying to focus on something that you can't see, you just look at it like one of those pictures that you just basically stare at without focusing, and then something appears. You relax your eyes to help train your brain to start seeing things that it was trained not to by evolution. Oh, and then I have several ideas that I think could move the world forward. Birds could be could be used to help with with insects that are in crops. So if you put bird houses all the way around your cornfield, then you don't have to use a pesticide that gets into the groundwater and then poisons us. Uh, I had an idea for a propeller guard or a little roller underneath a propeller for a boat to try to help save manatees since they float on the top of the water and they get killed a lot by boats. Um, in another video, I'll talk to you about an idea I had for a water park called Volcano Reno and an I-beam zip line. Uh, Transformers could be used in electric vehicles. The transformer basically ups the power or lowers the power of an electrical current. Like when a river narrows, the water moves faster, but when it's not going downhill as much and gets wider, it slows down. So if you took a transformer coming from the positive end of a battery and ran it to the motor to up the power, and then did the same thing in reverse coming from the motor to the negative part of the battery to down the power, then you're putting more power into the motor without heating up the battery. I have an idea for a double electric motor. I'll make a model of that and I'll show you that in another video. Um, Solar recharging lights in your house, that could definitely take your power consumption down, and unplug things like your TV when you're not using them, because they're still drawing 30% of the power even while the TV is off because of it being plugged in. It's still running power into the TV and back through the wires. Um, Yeah, and then in the winter, you know, you could use a jacket instead of jacking the heat way up. It's another way to save power. If you want to get rid of fleas, you can use salt or oregano, sprinkle it all over the floor. And what happens with the salt is the fleas will eat the salt and then they will die of dehydration. And with oregano, I believe it's poisonous to them. Oh, and don't forget to dump sitting water. If you have a bucket in your yard or something like that, especially in the spring, that takes the mosquito population down. Cat scratch pads. Everybody who has a cat knows their cats will scratch at the wall, scratch at the furniture, and tear it up. So if you take strips about this thick, you know, about yay long, and you glue them together, strips of cardboard, little rectangular strips that, and then glue them together till you got about, you know, a thick little pad. They will prefer to scratch at that as opposed to other things that they could be tearing up. Uh, Coal burning for electric power plants. I think we should use like a catalytic converter type thing to reduce pollution. And if we burn greenhouse gases like methane for power and use it for vehicles, then it's not contributing to global warming. Uh, I think distilled water is better than purified or spring water because it takes out everything but water. So you're not left with any toxins. You're not left with any pesticides that were in the groundwater. So you're not getting your vitamins from your water. There are plenty of foods you can eat to get those vitamins. And then pushing pain out of things like heart pain and headaches. Try to push that out of your body with spiritual energy instead of going straight for an Advil or something like that, or a heartburn medicine like Rolaids. And then I want to talk about a few of the kinesises. We've got astral projection, consciousness outside of the body, telepathy, which is basically using your mind to communicate instead of your mouth, Telekinesis is where you move things with your mind. Agrokinesis is influencing electricity outside the body. Pyrokinesis, same thing with fire. And all these things kind of stem from the first thing I mentioned. You're basically using your spirit to try and influence or control these types of things. You have retrocognition, which is seeing the past, which is good for crime scenes. And then there's teleportation. Obviously, you know what that is. And then there's materialization, dematerialization. And then there's transmuting. You can try to, get taller or make yourself bigger or stronger without working out. And it's not all in your diet. A lot of it, I believe, is in your spirit, on how you make yourself stronger, smarter, faster. Levitations, obviously, you know what that is. Bilocation, the ability to be in two places at once. That's pretty interesting. Biokinesis is where you learn to control life forms and like maybe think something in your mind verbally and try to have like your cat or your dog say it, like I love you or something is a good place to start with that one. Um, Chlorokinesis, the manipulation of plants. You can try to make them grow faster, grow healthier just by having a positive, loving atmosphere while you're around them. You got, being a healer. Geokinesis, control over earthly materials. And then there's petrification, where you turn things into stone on eye contact, like Medusa. There's photokinesis, controlling light. There's another type of kinesis. I think it's shadow kinesis,